It's Platt, and today we try a Japanese legend. That's next to Platt's Beer of the Week. So the particular beer we have today is Kirin Ichiban. Comes to us from the fine folks at Kirin Brewing. A little background into Kirin. The story starts all the way back in 1869 in a brewery called Spring Valley Brewing. The company was founded by a gentleman named William Copeland, and he opened it in Yokohama. Now, at the time, Japan as a country had just opened up to the rest of the world for the first time in hundreds of years. And a lot of foreign nationals had come in to start doing business with the new open Japan. Well, one of the things they missed was beer from back home. At the time, there just was no history of beer brewing in Japan. Obviously, they were more of a sake culture and just had not had a lot of brewers coming through to teach the trade. But like I said, there was a growing number of foreign nationals, and so they wanted their beer, and that's where Mr. Copeland stepped in, opened the brewery in Yokohama, opened it near a natural spring, so he had a great source of water. They also were local caves where he could lager the beer. Mr. Copeland was like a lot of early Japanese brewers, and you can read back in the history of the different breweries there. They all were highly influenced by German brewers. Either they went there and learned in the great classic brewing schools of Germany, or they might have interned under a German brewmaster. Japan's brewing culture is more of the classic German style lager beers, not a lot of the Belgian or British style ales there in Japan. As far as the brewery itself, it found some initial success, but eventually kind of lost its way, and in 1884 it shut down. Now this led the way to the modern version of the brewery that we know today. A company was formed called Ichiban Brewing, and one of the co-owners or co-investors was a gentleman that was also the president of the company called Mitsubishi that we know of, Mitsubishi Motors, but it's a massive corporate conglomerate. Well, several investors got together, formed Ichiban Brewing. They bought the old Spring Valley Brewing, and after a couple of years, they got the brewery back fired up, and in 1888 they started selling beer again, and it eventually became what we know of today as Kirin Brewing. With its history tied to Spring Valley Brewing, Kirin is the oldest continuous brewery in Japan. Plenty of history. Now, where Kirin kind of sets itself apart from other major competitors in Japan is they produce 100% all malt beer. Unlike Sapporo and Asahi, they do more of a westernized version of these lagers where they use adjuncts like rice or corn. Kirin, especially their flagship beer, the Ichiban, it's 100% malt. As far as the term Ichiban, they actually will use the term Ichiban Shibori. What Ichiban translates into is first, or it can also translate into premier or maybe the best, but generally translates into first. And Shibori, hopefully I'm saying that right, is press. Their claim is that they press the grains one time, that most brewers will press grains twice and take both runnings to produce a beer. They only take the first press, which is supposedly the best. Now, I've never heard a brewery kind of phrase it like that. You generally don't press the grains in brewing because you can pick up some tannins. And even on their website, they mention, well, the second pressing, is more better, and we don't use that, which makes a little sense. But so Ichiban translates into first, or it's a first press beer. Kirin itself today is still under the Mitsubishi corporate umbrella, but Kirin itself is kind of a corporate conglomerate too. Besides owning the brewery, they also own a distillery. They're into soft drinks. I believe they're a Coca-Cola bottler in Japan. They have a chain of restaurants. Kirin also invests in other alcoholic beverage companies. They have pieces in Four Roses, New Belgian Brewing, Bell's Brewing, just to name a few. Real quick, let's talk about some of their other beers. First is Kirin Ichiban Koronomu. Hopefully I said that right. It's a 5% ABV. It's a dark lager, similar to the Ichiban, just with some of those more dark malts. It's 100% malt beer. Again, just a variation. A dark lager is another German classic that they've kind of brought over to Japan. Next is Ichiban Tortate Hop. Again, hopefully I'm saying that right. This is produced with local hops. Apparently there are some hop orchards in Japan. Don't know if they, favor more of the classic noble hop or maybe the West Coast style hop, but definitely an interesting beer to try just to see, again, what the German or Japanese variety of hop, does to a beer. Third is Kirin Light, 3.3% ABV. Notice they don't use the term Ichiban or say anything about 100% malt. This is probably a standard westernized light beer. And finally is Kirin Lager, 5% ABV. Again, notice no term of Ichiban. This is a rice beer, or rice is in the grain bill. Some people may poo-poo it, some may not. Remember, Budweiser is made with rice. There's a lot of beers that use rice as an adjunct. Not necessarily a bad thing. I kind of like some of the rice beers. So don't look down at Kirin Lager because it's not Ichiban 100% malt. Lastly, if you consume a Kirin here in the U.S., it is produced under license by Anheuser-Busch in their Southern California brewery. So that's where your Kirin comes from here in the U.S. Well, before we try this particular beer, though, let's check out stats. So real quick today, I thought I'd give you guys a little update about something that I got hopefully coming down the road. I think I told you guys a couple videos back that I got back into bartending. I was burned out a little bit, but I got back bartending, and I'm working at a brewery. I'm bartending inside a brewery. Talked to the boss, and he's going to let me shoot some stuff in the brewery. May, meet the brewer one day, check the place out, maybe review some beers with the brewer, something like that. But we got some videos coming. I'm going to shoot some at the brewery. The name of the brewery is Kirin Brewing. If you somehow make it to Las Vegas, come out and see me sometime at the brewery. But we're going to start filming some stuff at the brewery, and hopefully it'll be cool and let you guys check that out. But that's something coming down the line. Well, enough about breweries. Let's drink a beer. All right, boy, that poured nice, plenty of head. Boy, nice golden color, plenty of bubbles. Boy, you get that classic maltiness on the nose. Again, very reminiscent of a European lager. Has a European lager nose to it. Not picking up a lot of hops. Let's give it a try. Oh man, that's just a nice, clean, well-executed malt-forward beer. I get that sweet maltness punch up front. Not a lot of hops in that, but it's balanced. It's not too sweet. It's not too viscous. Again, this is just a nice, well-executed lager. Plenty of that malt, so it's got a little more body to it. Some of them adjuncts can kind of lighten the body of the beer. Plenty of body of this. Crisp, clean, just a well-executed beer. Because of the 100% malt, it feels like you got a little more to it. There's just slightly more mouthfeel, slightly more body, just more, I guess, real beer, that kind of vibe to it. But nice, simple, well-executed lager. Again, definitely you can taste the German influence in the sense that it's just a simple, well-executed beer. And that's the Germans were always about that, not some of the crazy stuff their neighbors in Belgium would do. But like I said, just a nice, simple beer. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe down below. Also, please like the video because it lets YouTube know we're putting out good content. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or beers that you'd like me to try, please leave them in the comment section, or you can always contact me on the Twitter page. Till next time, bottoms up.